For the week of September 7th to September 10th, I was looking at SSOF 665 Energy. When I went back and I looked at their charts, they're one company that I hadn't went back and looked at for a while, but I wanted to recap myself on and stay up to date with my own information. And as you do your own due diligence and you're keeping yourself informed and knowledgeable about these stocks, this is one stock where when I looked at it, I want to go back and look at their charts again and where they are to date. I made a square with the blue boxes and I put some yellow lines where I was looking at their graphs on resistance. I was looking at the months and where they had breaks at. And with them, they're hovering around that 0.012 mark. I think they closed at a 0.015. That was the 2-year one. This is the 1 year. When I went to the 1 year, I started looking closer at where they were between that 009 and the 013 mark. And that kind of gave me some information where when I'm looking at graphs, I also kind of see where their performance and where they're at, where their peaks were. I look at all their valleys. As I went into that and I looked at the 6-month graph, I was able to kind of look at where they were going towards and where I could kind of predict that they were heading towards for 2022 and potential that they still had and how they were operating. When I went back and looked at July 16th, 2021, when they hit 0.017, kind of gives me an indicator that I want to set a bar, and I'd like to see that company kind of get to that threshold of 0.02 to 0.024 going into 2022. The reason I say that is because then I look at where I set myself up for looking at what would be a sell mark, what would be a buy mark, what would be a hold mark. Right now, on a prediction setting, they're definitely one of those that if they drop below 0.009, I would consider selling. If you're in the market to buy, I think right now, with them still sitting at a 0.012, they're definitely sitting at a good buy area. There's reasons for that, and with them 0.009 to 0.013, with them being in a good buy area, with their highest peak being up there at 0.017, that lets you know that once they break that 0.013, if you bought in now, I would say hold going into the future, and this is definitely a long play hold to see everything come to fruition on this stock. And even up to that 0.017, if they're looking for a breakout and they go up to 0.02 to 0.024 in 2022 on the rise between 0.013 to 0.017, may still be a good buy indicator. When I broke it down and I started looking at the monthly, on their monthly, I started mapping out with their resistance lines and looking at a lot of resistance in them and where this company may be facing stuff, where the downward trends were, and where they possibly can head back up to. And when you get into a weekly graph, I was looking at for a week if they were holding around the 0.0015 to 0.012, and they held coming out last week, going into this week, looking at that they can go to 0.013 and by the end of September, maybe they can break past that 0.013 resistance threshold and continue to climb up. If they do, then they'll be heading up towards that 0.013 to 0.014 and get that gradual climb in. One of the things I looked at was their volume. I'm not quite sure this is completely up to date, but this was showing a $5.7 million or 5.7 million volume with a market cap of 1.629. Now, as volume builds, this will definitely increase. With SSOF, they're a buy hold 0.013 to 0.012. I would consider them a strong buy and hold right now, with a definite upward trajectory trend. They're gonna go through some pump and dump peaks and valleys and continue to go through their phases as they do. SSOF for 9/7/21 to 9/10/21. It's 665 Energy Inc. I would say for this week, I would see them stay where they're at the 0.012 and float between the 0.013, probably a 0.0134, 0.0135, but they'll float in between that range and then gradually continue to climb up week by week. Some of the indicators when I looked at this was that they're heading towards staying above that next resistance, and if they can get above that 0.0124, they'll be doing really good. At 0.0168, that puts them at over 1,500% for the year. They've had a good run so far. I would think, conservatively speaking, that 0.0134 by the end of 2022, they'll definitely hit that mark, with staying between 0.0134 and 0.0227 during 2022, and definitely coming out in the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, they can definitely be at that 0.0227. And that's conservatively speaking, with the high validity in 665 Energy Inc. And that's looking at during the next 3 months, if they increase 74.59% on a basis, but that's giving them that high validity that they can also drop that 75%. So giving them a 75% back and forth, when I looked at things in 2022, you could, on a high end, definitely be looking at 0.162 and going up to a 0.0387, which means that they might drop back down at the end of 2022 to rise back up then by March. Going into 2023, you could see some hefty gains, and maybe in 2023 to 2024, in that gap, you're going to be seeing them at that 0.05 and continuing to climb. Once again, they could definitely shoot up and rocket at any time. I feel at 0.0115, they're undervalued. They're definitely bullish in my opinion, and they definitely could go up to that 0.0170 mark at any time. It's all about resistance levels though. When you look at prices, they're sitting at that 0.0115. I think when you look at the bottom in the red box that I made, they can definitely, if they fall, they're going to hit another resistance at 0.01. And I wouldn't expect them to go too far below the 0.01 mark. Rising up though, they're going to face some resistance around 0.0126 and 0.0133 and then 0.0144. So on a gradual weekly climb, I think that maybe come October, they could definitely be up at that 0.0144 and heading towards that 0.017. Maybe you might see a slight decline Then again, once they rise up, they're going to need to go through a couple pump and dumps and go through. They have a high volatility, so as they come through this, they're going to rise up, but then they're going to fall, and they're going to continue to raise that bar each time. The daily average volatility was 38.28%. So an overall risk is high on these. It's an oil field service. When you look at the 52-week, I saw a low date of 11/17/20, which made me put a red flag up to watch for this November, that maybe they might pump up through September, October, maybe drop down in November, and then shoot back up towards December. When you look at the 5-day, the month, 3-month, year, they're all staying green, and I would expect that even if you have some low months, they're going to keep themselves above average and keep on rising a little at a time. Some of their competitors are Stop Sleep Go, Right On Brand, Bright Cove. I started Right On Brands because I mentioned them in one of my other videos. I touched on them briefly. I haven't made a video just for them, but as one of their competitors, they're one that I definitely keep an eye out on. They had a high volatility rate on Right On Brands this last week. They had some good volume come in, and with 665 Energy, their OTC is SSOF. They're a holding company. Now, in the oil field equipment and supply industry, with facilities in Oklahoma, Germany, and Dubai. They're part of the global oil and gas equipment industry, projected to be worth $205 billion by 2020, which being in 2021, we should have surpassed that mark by now and be on that next rise and that next wave of the global oil and gas industry. So as we rise up and everything's happening with Mother Nature and all around the world, 665 Energy is a leader in supplying the industry with the right equipment. They're definitely a stock to check out. They're definitely a stock to do your research on. With 665 Energy, this was one of the keynotes it had acquired in October 30th, 2019, Zimmerman Biopharmaceuticals. They're into insulin, so make sure you do your research. When you're researching, it's your time, how much time you invest, and that investment is in yourself, your own knowledge. Your knowledge is the money. So as you get into these stocks, I would definitely keep checking things out. Check out the things that they can get into. Check out this Zimmerman Biopharmaceuticals. Check out their subsidiary stocks. If you're investing in one stock, you might want to invest in the other stocks. That way you can get a piece of the change on both sides. Hopefully this information is helpful to you. Once again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm just a blue-collar worker trying to pay it forward. Put some leads out there. Put some leads out about the companies, about the information, about some of the research, things that I found, put in my own portfolio so that way I keep notes and tabs on what's going on with them. If this stuff is helpful to you, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you watching the video.